The Absolute Universe is a place that was designed to prevent the rise of heroes. The powerful that control everything consolidate. Governments, corporations, militaries, and the media are controlled by the same small group of elites. Figures like Veronica Cale, Ra's al Ghul, and Jack Grimm, also known as the Joker, who understand that this universe is inherently evil and is designed to help people like them succeed. Crime, panic, and disorder are tools that they use to justify harsher control and permanent states of emergency. A great example of this is how Grimm is operating in Gotham City. He and his cronies orchestrated riots and mass murder, all to get the city into a state of martial law so that he could continue his abominable experiments without interruption. And here Batman is less of a smiling figure of authority, but a resistance fighter battling against it. This Bruce Wayne is not wealthy, and he grew up alongside a group of neighborhood kids: Harvey Dent, Waylon Jones, Eddie Nygma, Oswald Cobblepot, and Selina Kyle. In the mainline universe, many of them are enemies, but here they're the closest friends, and that made them a target. Waylon was dragged to Joker's mysterious new facility, Ark M, and was experimented on. When Batman tried to rescue him, he was captured by the facility's enforcer Bane and endured months of torture as a test subject. Eventually he escaped, and in retaliation, his friends were brutalized, turning them into their true selves, as Bane called it. They became casualties in Batman's war with the elites, twisted, broken, and yet somehow right. Batman survived the Abomination storyline, but his victory was hollow. The people he was fighting for were no longer the same, and some may never be human again. Issue 15 briefly stepped away from that fallout to examine the Joker's past, revealing that Grimm isn't simply a madman reacting to Gotham, but one of its architects. He's a man who funds both sides of every conflict out of indifference, and disorder is his natural habitat. Did I mention that he can turn into a massive demon too? I didn't, did I? Probably should have led with that. While Bruce was confronting the truth in Gotham, another figure was trying to do the same thing on the opposite side of the country. Diana, Princess of Hell, Wonder Woman, had emerged as something the elites cannot tolerate, an unauthorized symbol of hope. Raised in exile, forged by magic and mythology, Diana exposed how figures like Cale and Grimm manipulate the world. When Batman and Wonder Woman finally crossed paths, they were amicable, with no posturing, just two people working together to try and solve a mystery. And their meeting forged an alliance, information was shared, trust was extended, and for the first time in the Absolute Universe, two heroes chose cooperation over isolation. Absolute Batman 16 acts as a follow-up to that story rather than a continuation. You don't have to have read Absolute Wonder Woman's crossover with Batman to enjoy this issue, but if you did, then you will get more out of it. But before Batman and Wonder Woman go on another adventure, it's time to check in with the supporting cast of the book. As Bruce Wayne, Batman visits Harvey Dent and Oswald Cobblepot in hospital. Oswald has made some improvement after Bane crushed every bone in his body, leaving him broken and disfigured, and Dent now has long flowing white hair. He came bearing a peace offering, sandwiches, but had forgotten that Oswald still can't eat solid food. As such, he isn't met with the most positive reception, as Oswald curses him. Selina had visited them earlier and left them with some money to help stabilize them, and the best Batman can do is bring them some sandwiches that they can't even eat. Oswald is right that Batman can barely look at them, but it's not because he's horrified at what they've become, it's because he blames himself for what happened. He's shying away from the consequences of his actions, no matter how right they were. And I would just like to take a moment to note that we can see Dent's disfigurement peeking out from behind the bandages. He has blue skin like his Batman the Animated Series counterpart, and I am 100% down for that. Clearly, Batman doesn't like being in a position of powerlessness though, and so he recalls his encounter with Wonder Woman and how she left him with a talisman of Hecate as a way to summon her. So he heads to the Natural History Museum at night, as you do, and calls his new friend. Diana tells him that he can only use the talisman 3 times, which feels like important information that probably should have been mentioned earlier, given that he's already used it once before to free her from a spell in their first meeting. But the reason Batman has summoned her is because he wants to find a solution to help his friend Waylon, who has undergone the most extreme transformation. Batman is trying to help manage his condition by having Alfred feed him huge troughs of offal to keep his endless hunger under control, but it is completely unsustainable. While she has a lasso that can transmogrify people, the results are unreliable, but she is aware of a mystical item that may be able to help. The problem is that she and Batman will have to travel to the realm between Earth and the underworld and battle the Lord of Transformation, Acrolis, a centaur and guardian of a bridge. In this place, time moves more quickly than on the surface, so for Batman and Wonder Woman, they spend 16 days walking and avoid the deadly monstrosities that live there, but for those on the surface, it's just one night. Along the way, they come across the corpse of the king, and Diana explains how placing coins over his eyes is thought to offer passage to Elysium, essentially heaven. She also says that some say these coins grant visions, and that night, while the two make camp, she places coins over Batman's eyes while he sleeps. This gives him a vision of his deceased father, where he hears words of wisdom that essentially validate his approach to being Batman. Heroes commit to making the world a better place, one act at a time. When the time comes for Batman and Wonder Woman to fight, Acrolis assumes that the pair are a couple, which results in a very funny splash page of the two yelling in unison, "We're not together!" Sorry, WonderBat shippers, looks like it isn't happening here either. I don't think they particularly object to the idea of being in a relationship together, but they're just friends. Batman's heart likely still belongs to Selina Kyle, and Diana, well, she just loves everyone. But romance aside, the duo don't seem to have too much trouble battling Acrolis. He is armed with a bow that fires arrows that can transform their targets, but Batman and Wonder Woman's relentless assault means he doesn't have the time to get a bead on them. There is a funny moment where Batman learns the hard way to never stand behind a centaur as Acrolis kicks him off the edge of the bridge. Could this be the end of the Cape Crusader? No. Pegasus, Diana's loyal skeletal companion, makes a timely save and brings Batman back to the fight, which is very fortunate because in the chaos, Diana was distracted long enough for Acrolis to get a shot off from his mystical bow, which would have presumably transformed Diana into a beast if it were to connect. Honestly, I'm not 100% certain on that. Instead, though, Batman dives in front and gets hit by the arrow. Diana decisively ends the battle by doing some transmogrification of her own by knocking out all of Acrolis' teeth. With the centaur defeated, their mission is complete, and Batman finds himself waking up on Sunday morning at 5 AM with a glowing arrowhead embedded in his shoulder. This is the artifact that could be used to help Waylon. Apparently it'll turn 4 legs into 2, presumably meaning it'll turn a beast into a man, and he crafts it into a necklace for Waylon to wear. When the crossover between Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman was first announced, I must admit I was a little apprehensive. The endless crossovers in the X-Men books have made me practically allergic to expansive multi-part crossovers between different series, even if I'm already buying all the books. But this was the kind of crossover I can get behind. It's entirely self-contained, but you can get more out of it if you read their first crossover. This was a pretty decent self-contained story that was equal parts action-packed, touching and funny, which adds some much-needed levity after some of the intensely grim stories we've seen recently. After the body horror of Ark M and the Abomination storyline, Absolute Batman 16 allows itself moments of humour, warmth and genuine connection. Batman is taking steps to fix things, or at least helping to improve them. He has an ally and a plan. For the first time in a while, the damage done to his friends doesn't feel entirely irreversible, but that relief is bound to be only temporary. If you've read the Absolute Ark M special, you already know that Joker hasn't slowed down. The monster factory beneath Gotham is still churning. New test subjects are being refined, repurposed and released back into the world to cause Batman some grief. So while this issue ends with hope, it's the kind of hope that exists between disasters, not after them. Batman gets a moment to breathe and believes that saving one friend might still matter. But very soon, Ark M is going to remind him what it was built to do, and when the next doors open, starting with Poison Ivy and then the Scarecrow, that hope is going to be tested hard. Absolute Batman 16 is available now from all good comic shops. I would encourage you to research your local comic shop, and if you don't have one, I'm certain there are dozens of good stores nearby that would be happy to mail you your comics. If you're opposed to the idea of cluttering up your home with comic books, then you can get this one digitally from places like Amazon as well as Neon Ichiban. Personally, I prefer physical comics, but I do like the convenience of having thousands of comic books accessible from my phone, but you do what works best for you. For those that didn't watch my recent videos that weren't about Absolute Comics, and yes, I know that's most of you, here is a small update on my physical collection. For those interested in my physical collection, I finally moved it all into storage, and Mary helped me. I don't know how many boxes we've got here, probably about 40.
Your Gila is very puffy.
Yes, it is. And I've got, 6 boxes at home as well that are regularly updated, and then when they're full, they'll come here as well. I'm very tired. Next time. I'll be back very soon with a video about Absolute Wonder Woman 16, which features the debut of Absolute Zatanna as Diana visits a new exhibition of Amazonian artifacts. Early next week I'll be covering Absolute Martian Manhunter 8, where Agent John Jones suggests giving the Martian the night off for a change, with disastrous results. And finally, after that, I'll be talking about Absolute Flash 11, where Wally West finds himself trapped in an alternate dimension, while the rogues come face to face with Eobard Thawne. Hope to see you then.